single dad janitor yelled, "I will defend her." In court, then the CEO did something no one expected. Marcus Johnson stood in the hallway of the county courthouse, his worn work boots squeaking against the polished floor. His hands were trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of what he was about to do. Inside that courtroom sat his 14-year-old daughter, Emma, accused of something she didn't do. And Marcus, a night shift janitor who cleaned the very offices where lawyers worked, was about to walk in there and fight for her with everything he had. He didn't have a fancy suit. He didn't have a law degree. But he had something more powerful, a father's love and an unshakable belief in doing what's right. What happened next would change not just their lives, but the lives of everyone in that room. Because sometimes, the most unexpected acts of kindness come from the most unexpected places. Before we dive into this incredible story, if you love hearing about real moments of courage, compassion, and humanity, make sure to subscribe to Heartfelt Moments. Hit that like button, drop a comment telling us about a time someone stood up for you, and let's build a community that believes in the power of kindness. Now, let's get back to Marcus and Emma's story. Marcus had been a single father since Emma was 3 years old. Her mother had passed away from cancer, leaving him to raise their little girl alone. He took a job as a janitor at Mitchell & Associates, a major corporate office building downtown, because the night shift paid a little more and let him be home when Emma got back from school. Every evening, he'd make her dinner, help with homework, tuck her in, and then head out to mop floors and empty trash cans until dawn. Life wasn't easy, but they had each other. Emma was a bright, kind-hearted kid who volunteered at the local animal shelter and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. She never complained about their small apartment or the fact that her dad couldn't afford the latest phone or trendy clothes. She knew he was doing his best, and that was enough. Then one day, everything fell apart. Emma's school reported that someone had vandalized the principal's office, spray painting cruel words across the walls. Security footage was grainy, but a figure wearing a jacket similar to Emma's was seen nearby. Without much investigation, the school pressed charges. Emma swore she was innocent, that she'd been in the library studying, but no one seemed to believe her. The other kids, the ones from wealthy families with expensive lawyers, watched from the sidelines as Emma, the scholarship kid with the janitor dad, became the easy target. Marcus spent his life savings on a public defender who barely looked at the case. On the morning of the hearing, that lawyer called in sick. Marcus was told he could request a postponement, but that would mean Emma spending more time under this cloud of suspicion, missing school, losing her scholarship. He couldn't let that happen. So Marcus walked into that courtroom alone. The judge looked down at him with tired eyes. The prosecutor, a sharp woman in an expensive suit, laid out the circumstantial evidence with confidence. Emma sat at the table, her eyes red from crying, her hands folded in her lap. And Marcus, in his janitor's uniform because he'd come straight from his shift, stood up. "Your Honor," he said, his voice shaking but steady, "I don't know much about the law. But I know my daughter. And I know she didn't do this." The prosecutor smirked. "Mr. Johnson, feelings aren't evidence." Marcus turned to face her, and something in his eyes made the entire room go quiet. "You're right. Feelings aren't evidence. But character is. My daughter volunteers every weekend at the animal shelter. She tutors younger kids for free. She's never been in trouble, not once. And maybe that doesn't matter to you, but it should matter to this court." His voice grew stronger, louder. "I clean offices for a living. I scrub toilets and mop floors so my daughter can have a chance at a better life. And I will not let her be convicted of something she didn't do just because we can't afford a fancy lawyer. I will defend her." The courtroom was silent. The judge leaned forward, about to speak, when the doors at the back opened. A man in an immaculate suit walked in, his footsteps echoing. It was Richard Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell & Associates, the very building where Marcus worked. Everyone recognized him. He was one of the most powerful businessmen in the city. "Your Honor," Richard said calmly, "I apologize for the interruption. My name is Richard Mitchell, and I'd like to offer some information relevant to this case." The judge nodded, curious. Richard walked to the front and placed a folder on the table. Last night, our security team was reviewing footage from our building's parking garage. We noticed something unusual and investigated further. It turns out that the jacket supposedly worn by the vandal was actually stolen from our lost and found 3 weeks ago. We have footage of the actual thief, a 17-year-old male, wearing that jacket on multiple occasions, including the night of the vandalism at the school. He opened the folder, revealing clear security photos. This young man has no connection to Emma Johnson. We've already contacted the police with this evidence. Emma couldn't have committed this crime because the jacket used to identify her wasn't even in her possession. The prosecutor's face went pale. The judge examined the photos carefully. Richard turned to Marcus. Mr. Johnson cleans my building every night. For 5 years, I've watched him work with dignity and integrity. I've seen him leave notes of encouragement for our stressed employees. I've seen him fix things that weren't his job to fix, simply because he saw they were broken. Last week, I came back late and saw him in our conference room, teaching his daughter algebra at midnight because that was the only time they had together. His voice softened. When I heard what was happening today, I knew I had to help. Because if a man who works as hard as Marcus can stand up for what's right, the least I can do is stand beside him. The case was dismissed within minutes. Emma ran into her father's arms, sobbing with relief. But Richard wasn't done. Mr. Johnson, he said, my company has a new initiative supporting employees pursuing education. If Emma still wants to be a veterinarian, we'd like to offer her a full scholarship through our foundation. And as for you, we have a facilities management position opening up. Better hours, better pay, and it comes with benefits. Marcus couldn't speak. Tears rolled down his face as he shook Richard's hand. That moment in the courtroom rippled outward. The story spread through the community, inspiring others to stand up for what's right, to look beyond appearances, and to remember that kindness isn't about grand gestures, it's about seeing people's worth and fighting for it. Emma graduated top of her class and is now in veterinary school. Marcus manages facilities for 3 buildings now, and he's never forgotten what it feels like to be seen, truly seen, by someone who chose kindness when they could have looked away. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is stand up and say, I will defend what's right. And sometimes, when we do, the world stands up with us. Let this story remind you, your voice matters. Your courage matters. And one act of kindness can change everything.